Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the player ranked #1 in the world by Dark, the reigning GSL champion, the final boss in the red. It's Dark. And his longtime rival recently returned to professional StarCraft 2 in the blue. It's a trap. Best of 3 Protoss versus Zerg, and starting things off strong as a probe is already looking to slap down a cannon and deny Dark's early economic aggression. Oh, I can appreciate someone who has some early economic aggression, as I myself prefer to remind people early to like. And if you haven't made it there yet, it'd be awesome if you could subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? 1,371 cannon rushes on that like button. And I'll cast another series, and I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far, and hopefully it's about to get a little bit better. Here we go. 2 cannons on the way. Dark lets the hatchery complete, which means he has some intent on defending it. The second cannon, usually you don't add a second cannon because they usually cancel the hatchery by now. But Dark, well, it looks like Trappa will finish that second cannon in order to make sure this hatch goes down, because one can be taken down by a queen and a few lings. Maybe throw a bit of elbow grease in there, but 2 cannons. He actually cancels the second one, which means now it's gonna get a little weird. As, well, without a second cannon, Dark may very well break out of this. He's actually Are you kidding me? He's mining. He's going to force the issue by actually hitting it with the queen. There's ADEPTs towards the center. Queen, really? The queen, Brenda, you can't micro like that. Watch me dance, Susan. I got my dancing shoes on. Yeah. Well, ADEPTs on one side, cannon on the other. Not the ideal scenario for a queen. More Zerglings on the way. Dark definitely wants to break this cannon. But I don't think there's going to be time to do so, as now the hatchery taking terrible, terrible damage. Zerglings on top of it. Trap is just targeted firing, and he's going to get it. Doesn't go for the queen behind. But Dark, a slight miscalculation will result in the loss of the hatchery. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised it was even that close. The queen trying its best. Laying down the creep tumors will work on the pylon. So there will be plenty of creep spread. There's actually nothing back at home behind the wall here. A single stalker takes painfully long to take out any of the Zerglings. He may very well lose warp gate research. That's kind of an important one. 9, 5, 4, 3, 2, and with 1 full second to spare, maybe 1.5. Warp gate will complete. Dark on the receiving end of a series of bad breaks. And right now, certainly not in the ideal position to deal with a Protoss who has multiple gateways and is heading towards charge. It wasn't a massive economic hit, because building a pylon and any amount of cannons in the middle of the map creates an odd scenario outright. But not having that third hatchery, so the creep spread is on, as Dark has a bunch of creep spread metastasizing from the center of the map, which is not ideally where you have it. And now Trap, with the ultimate flex, is building a shrine to his opponent in the main base. A dark shrine indeed. Wow. One of those, like, match the damage type, so that way you do more damage. And in this particular scenario, when the game has gotten weird and you clearly don't have that much tech, I don't know if Dark is going to be ready for it. Usually, you get a Spore Crawler around the 350 to 4 minute mark to deal with Oracles. Maybe a little bit later to deal with Dark Templar. But this game has gone so far sideways, Dark may not remember that Dark Templar exists. The kind of like internal chronometer, the muscle memory, is thrown so far off. There's a single Spore in the front. He spotted a lot of charge mods, and that indicates the Twilight Council is done. And there should be more units than that. That's an incredibly suspicious tech to have with only a handful of units. So Dark is reading the room right now and seeing nothing, which is everything. There's on the way. There's only one Spore. He hasn't seen the Dark Templar yet. No. Let's go to the Dark Camp. Oh, yeah. I think he caught a glimpse of it. The glimmer there. Yeah, he can see it. He's looking at the Dark Templar. And if he had held back a little bit further, maybe he would have gotten away with it. Spore Crawler. Robbie the Spore Crawler burrows forward. DT tries to come in. Not gonna happen. The Charge Lot's looking to box out. Needs to deal with that Dark Templar transfuse. Will keep everything intact, and the Queens are able to take it down. Dark has rebuilt the gold base. And now, Trap's attempt to bamboozle Dark and slip the Dark Templar in is shut down. And Dark now with a dozen more drones finishing up. He's got the gold base. The Charge Lots have done their world tour and are now breaking down the rocks to come back to the safer side of things. What a weird game to start. Not particularly many losses. The economy has taken their sweet time building up, as it's been a fitful start. But double Robo and +2 hallucinates a Phoenix to have high ground vision to take down the Overlord. Is there any vision of the robotics facility? No. So didn't want to use the Observer in order to bring that vision in, just in case Dark could use it. Dark Templar is holding the Watchtower. Hallucinated Phoenix lost motivation and short and temporary life. And Queens will take it down. Sees a gas. I don't know if he's going to expect this many Hydralisks in production. That is certainly an outlier. Dark is at 71 drones, though. He has the gold base online, and his economy, it's been tenuous. Trap with a slight advantage. But now, Dark, with the gold base, will have plenty of production of units. And the base itself, the hatchery, is your production facility. So having 4 bases and the economy to back it up, such a huge deal. And now finally, Hallucinated Phoenix gets in and will spot the Hydralisk Den. Ropo in the main, Robotics Bay, as well, being built at the natural. Against this many Hydras, Colossi are a real option, but Dark, I don't think is going to give him the time to get there. As Dark has been sitting on 70 drones, he's going to have +1 melee attack. +1 ranged attack. And Hydra speed is on the way as well. 170 to 112 supply. Both flavors of splash damage, High Templar and Robotics Bay, are in production, but they have yet to be delivered. And no matter how many times you hit the Chrono Boost button, it doesn't go any faster. Express delivery still takes time. Dark is waiting out his Hydra speed, I believe, before he commits to an all-out attack. Probably wants a few Ravagers mixed in there to blunt the effect of Force Field. But hasn't added any yet. Disruptor is the choice. And against just the Roach Hydra composition, it certainly could be the right one. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And if you don't have a robotics facility, you can't build very many Disruptors. He's Chrono Boosting out. Meanwhile, a whole bunch of units. More Roach Hydra between all of this. Force Field to hold the line. No Ravagers really hurting here. Not able to break through, but just goes through the side, step through the minerals, and will hit the 4th base. Disruptor on the field. But Hydra speed is done. Roach speed is not. Dark forgot Roach speed. That's an uncharacteristic mistake, and could very well cost him some extra units. Just the Immortals here are good enough. Disruptor looking for a shot. Force Field will zone them out, but look, the Roach Hydra already to the south side. There's not enough units here to defend. 4, 5 Immortals. That's the core of the army. Disruptor shots fired. Double barrel takes out 1. And Dark still driven back, and he lost the Overseer, the Dark Templar. Somewhat ironically warped in to defend against their Zerg counterpart. And Trap actually holds. He still has plenty of economy. Dark lost 6 drones here? Or he spent them all on other buildings. That might be the situation. Knocks out a couple more Hydras. Not able to slide away from those Disruptor shots too easily. Another airball down the center. 5 Immortals still holding. Disruptor shot finds a big chunk. About 10 supply of Roach Hydra there. And Dark facing diminishing returns. As right now, the army size is getting dangerously close to even. Trap continues the inevitable march upwards, whereas Dark is dropping off. He doesn't have an infestation, but he's essentially all in on lair tech. Kind of a weird situation to see Dark in. Not opting for the Hive or the Lurkers or the Vipers. As now, well, he's a hop, skip, and a massive disruptor shot away from being in a very precarious position. These disruptors finding decent connections, not game-changing ones yet. Another shot clips the roaches. Comes through towards the fourth base. Still no hint of an infestation pit. Not even the makings of one in the production tab. Dark still committed, which is giving Trap more and more of an opportunity to make these disruptors worth it. He's still stuck on 3 bases. It's very hard to move out of a defensive position with disruptors unless you have enough army supply. Overseer, full energy, slaps a contaminate, delays the production of another disruptor, but there's already enough on the field. Can Dark actually engage it? He's got Lings and Banes on the way. Ling speed, Bane speed about to complete. And disruptors have to get dangerously close to your own army to deal with those Lings and Banes. The Watchtower going to be a precarious position to fight over. The Changelings almost able to block out. What do we have up there? Just some creep dropping overlords. Still, no infestation pit. Which means Dark is still locked in to Hydras, Lings, and Banes. This scouting disruptor. Classic tactic. Does he have Storm? No. Scouting Templar. The gold base. For the second time this game will be taken out. This time with a significantly more dangerous army. Another disruptor coming up. Recalls back to the third. Disruptor shot. Clips the Hydras. Another one around the corner. Gets a couple more. A Zealot for good measure. The brunt of the Hydras, though, still further back. Held back. Trap holding. The shield battery overcharge. Keeping the Immortals true to their name. Another one around the corner. Gets 4 Hydras. The supply is even now. And the odds not looking great for Dark as he continues to try to break through. But the Immortals get caught. The rest of the army from the recall actually gets caught out by the Hydras, but the Warp Prism allows him to slip away and Trap outmaneuvering Dark, who says, what could we do to solve this? And then put 17 more Hydras in the production hub. I didn't know that Dark's alternative ego was Mayo Micah? I don't know. I struggle with that name for some reason, but the Vietnamese sensation who seems to both not have the Hive button bound on his hotkeys and also is allergic to making things that aren't Hydralisks. If he can continue to deny the 4th base, then Dark, sure, has an opportunity to win outright. But at the same time, the returns are certainly diminishing, as he's gone from double the army supply to dead even. And now, Trap has found enough space to get charge slots into the main. The War Prism does need to stay alive here. Hydra's chasing it down. Takes a good angle. Does he have actually prisms? No, no. Well, that was embarrassing. Infestation pit. Somehow that Warp Prism convinced Dark that it's finally time to tech up. But is it too little? And is it too late? Trap is 164 supply. He just finished up Storm. He's got +3, +1 with shields on the way. Dark only has +2 attack for his Hydras and +1 melee for the Lings and Banes. And speaking of Lings and Banes, so many Banelings rolling into the third. Trap, wow, kept his cool and waited out the fort. No, it's like Ice Baneling Escape. Except, wait, no, in Ice Baneling Escape, the Banelings do escape. Yeah, well, not mine. I hate that game. But the idea stands. It appears that the pin was pulled and whatever was keeping Dark away from that Hive tech, though, as he now working on Dropper Lords. Unfortunately, a Dark Templar gets in and gets way more than the initial ones ever did. Dark down to 60 drones and not able to replace them easily. Zerglings popping out of the main base will eventually deal with this DT, but it got 5 drone kills. But wait, there's more. Into the gold, which Dark has taken for the 3rd time this game. Lurker den about to complete, but Trap has such an anti-ground army. He's got 7 Disruptors, 5 Immortals, 4 High Templar with Storm, and several Archons scattered in, as well as Blinkstalkers. Not as impressed with the Blinkstalkers, but they're good to have. Okay, they didn't warrant the same tone. Lurker range. Dark commits to a massive counterattack in an attempt to deal with this. He does have an Overseer. Dark Templar immediately warped in. Gotta be very careful with the one Overseer here, as Dark realizes this army is so difficult to fight, he might as well go for a base trade. Trap's actually gonna come back to defend. He warps back to the 3rd. Some of the reinforcing units are caught out, but who's flanking who? There is a force field available. Tries it. 11 probes dead. Archons left behind. Kill 7 drones. The Hydra's the force fields are weirdly effective here. But more Lings and Banes. This is when Dark is most dangerous. When he's kind of pinned himself into a corner with his tech. He's forced to improvise to survive. Honestly, it almost feels like a challenge mode for him. He's like, I could have just gone Lurkers, but let's make it interesting by getting slammed in the face with massive Disruptor hits. Oh, baby, a triple. A Storm ends up being a little late to the party there, but Dark, down to 162 supply, still has to contend with this death ball of death balls. The Disruptors coming up the ramp with a vengeance. Guardian Shield from the Sentry. Swings one around the corner. Is there any detection for the Lurkers? There is not, but the Disruptors will serve. There is not a single observer. But again, the Disruptors can make the difference. More Lings and Banes. Warps in a couple DTs to defend the base. Dark is going to be losing the vast majority of his economy as well. In fact, Dark's going to be losing more. The DTs and Trap, without ever having to really commit the army, will take the victory as Dark is run around by the Death Ball. Gets into a desperate scenario, and Trap more than happy to take a comfortable win. Dark. Surprisingly, you know what? I'm going to play the devil's advocate there a bit and say Dark intentionally trying that layer tech in order to hide his strats for the World Cup next month. Which, maybe, because clearly he knows where to go with it, but almost limit testing with the Hydraling Bane. But Trap more than capable of holding against that layer tech army once he puts it all together. So credit where credit is due. And honestly, so much value out of Force Field. I don't think we saw a single Ravager the entire game. So the Force Field's coming through. The Overseers sniped off and allowing the DTs. Remember, that all started with a cannon rush on the gold that ended up, a single cannon ended up killing the hatchery on its own. Despite Dark's Dancing Queen. And... oh, how did I miss that? Moving on. This time around, no gold base for Dark to take, so Trap should be fine to lock it down. Not gonna have to worry about any sort of early shenanigans. We're gonna see probably what Trap wanted to do if the game hadn't gone sideways so early. Dark just takes the third base. As you know, the only bases you're really allowed to take is against Protoss are your third or their natural. Or also the gold, I guess, depending on the map. But generally, the probe sticking around to make sure that hatchery out there is forced to be taken. It's well accepted it's worth it. You lose plenty of mining time on the probe, but having these bases so disconnected, without the creep there, it makes it a lot more vulnerable to adepts and oracles. And lo and behold, such a coincidence that those are the two units that make up pretty much the entirety of the early game for Protoss. So, and yes, here's the reason why. It's not just like, you can't just bring drones down. They can always cancel the pylon or slap down another. So there's really no answer besides going pool first to the pylon block. No answer that is economically feasible, at least. Thus, here we are. Stargate, Oracle. Queen actually a little supply blocked for Dark. A bit uncharacteristic. Will he extract her trick? That's a hard supply block for Dark, actually. Some real sloppy. He's at 35 over 36. He built a drone. Oh my, that queen being delayed will have consequences. The Oracle's already on the way across. 2 Adepts sent out. But 1 less queen on the field. There will be gaps in the defense, as the queens are forced to wear one of their many hats. Well, Oracle comes back and makes sure that the Stalker can take down the Overlord, so Dark will get a slight reprieve. Slaps down a Nexus. And, well, there was actually a gap in the wall for a moment, but the Oracle would have taken at least several pounds of Zergling flesh. Yeah. Charbroiled. Zerglings come around for another pass. Maybe try to delay the third. Mostly zone out any early Adepts. Ooh. It's the Eclipse build. The early Oracles to keep them busy and distracted, and then mass Adepts behind. Not just a couple, but a couple dozen potentially. And the Oracle's coming in. Get 2 kills so far. Good target fire. Almost finish off 1. 4 kills in total. Glaive's on the way. Recalls the Oracles all the way back. Doesn't want to be pinned down by those vengeful queens. Masking a shady bunch build. Masking the build where you usually send out 4 or 5 Adepts with some Oracles to cover. So he shows Dark this. And it's going to look relatively normal. And then, well, the next wave is what gets you. And there's no Roach Warren on the way. So this is to lull Dark into a false sense of security. But Dark does have a Zergling on the other side. And here comes the next round. There's a dozen Adepts on the field. Zergling's on the way. Baneling Nest is only halfway done. Dark is still building drones. Oh no, I think he's been successfully bamboozled. Some more Lings on the way now. But no Roach Warren, no Baneling Nest. This is Trouble Town. Brenda, call everyone! They're all here. We have nothing else. Oh no. The Adept Shades into the main, and the drones are on the run. There's nothing here to defend. He's gonna lose so many drones. 8 drones dead. Oracles? No. Adepts in the third base. Banelings will complete. The Adepts pretty stacked up. So, definitely could have had worse Baneling hits. Dark, not suffering critical losses. And he's cleaning it up relatively quickly. So, it could have been much, much worse. It wasn't good, but there's a wide range of opportunity there. And I think Trap maybe missed the mark on the game-ending move, but still will keep Dark at bay. As even though Dark defended it and still has units on the field, he can't come across the map because of those Oracles. Either he has to pull the Queens, which, you know, he's not particularly averse to that, or just play it out economically. Just try to get so many drones you catch up here. And he's already recovered in the worker count, but the next army is coming across. Army is a strong term for 4 sentries and 4 stalkers. It's more like an inspection crew, who at the first sign of trouble will certainly force field, activate the Oracles, and recall out. But the idea stands. Stasis at the back. More stalkers moving forward, but I do think this is playing with proverbial fire. As the longer he sticks around, the more likely he's going to get absolutely crushed. Dark actually missed the stasis with a single Zergling. Anticipated it, but didn't quite find it. Another Zergling denying the 4th base. ADEPT shade towards Dark's 4th. But, oh, Oracle gets taken down by the Queens. 15 more drones on the way. Wow. Stalker Sentry. As we'll see if Dark stick. No, 6 Ravagers on the way. He's not sticking to his Ravagerless challenge. But losing 2 Overlords and getting hard supply blocked. 3 Overlords. Getting hard supply blocked right before the attack is really going to hurt. Because not having any reinforcements is the difference between maybe defending your 4th and just giving it up entirely. Dark has an alternative 4th on the way. Banelings with speed completed managed to cancel the 4th base out of trap. So, it's not like this came without a cost. And now the Banelings looking for their opportunity to roll in. Actually take it a different angle. I think waiting till trap is more reliably distracted. Now, roach speed about to complete. I think those Banelings aren't... He may have noticed them, the hallucinated Phoenix. Unclear. Stasis triggered by a single Zergling. But Dark has, for the most part, recovered. He's got his hive on the way. Trap is still building up a very strong Protoss army, but Dark has the tech and the economy to meet it on the field. Or, if he decides to just go all the way around the field and get behind him, well, that's also on the table. In fact, I would call that probably more likely. Another wave of Banes. Dark taking it seriously. Storm is on the way. Charge plus 2 ground weapons for Trap. Stasis, he spotted it and triggered it so quickly. The rocks. Here come the Banelings towards the 3rd. But 3 cannons. That's not enough. Trap on the run. And kills 1 probe. That's not very many. Corrosive Bile knocks out some sentries. Other full energy sentries getting caught out. Creates the wall of force field. Whips out some corrosive vials to deal with it. Another wave of Banelings is coming in. This one gonna have even less success than the last. I mean, I guess it killed a couple Zealots. Another wave! And he gets a sentry and a High Templar. Oh my. These corrosive vials just intolerable for those who, well, probably don't have anything of the sort, considering they don't have mouths. Immortals, Archons, some Stalkers mixed in. Trap maintaining a solid core of the army, but unlike last game, Dark has Hive Tech already done. He's got 79 drones. He's got 5 hatcheries. No macro hatch? No macro hatch. He's got adrenal glands, another couple dozen Banelings, and plus 3 melee attack on the way. A fully operational Dark is ready to throw another wave of Zerg at Trap. But he's still, well, no Vipers, no Lurkers, but the Banelings, what's in there? He's got Templar and a Prism. The Ravagers are breaking through. The Zerglings are inside the mineral line, and the Banelings following it up. The force fields are not good enough. 13 probes are dead. Another wave knocks out the shield battery. The Nexus is stripped of shields. Corrosive Biles triggering some of the barriers. 14 workers dead. In another wave, he almost gets the Warp Prism, which would have been an absolute disaster. He desperately needs it. The Storm Prism. There's just so many attacks happening simultaneously. Dark is keeping Trap way too busy. But the core of the army remains. 6 Immortals, 5 High Templar, 3 Archons. There's no Lurkers for Dark. So a couple good storms, and this army can break almost anything Dark can directly throw at him, which is much of the reason why Dark is not directly throwing anything at him, but instead fighting around the sides. Though he doesn't have any other tech in production, so eventually he's going to have to pick a fight. And it looks like Trap may just be taking out the base at the 9 o'clock instead. Another wave of Overlords taken out. Dark supply blocked again, but he's at 200 right now. Another wave of Corrosive Bile, but dodges with the Templar. Zerglings in the 3rd. Zerglings in the 4th. Roaches as well. As Dark forces the issue, he sprays up a fountain of Corrosive Bile. The Queen... No! Get out of there! Oh my god! I don't know. Storms onto the queens. And there's still energy. Oh, the Protoss army is jammed in. Zerglings in the natural. Trap will have no home to go back to. In the metaphorical sense, the Nexus should survive if he needs to recall. Dark just needs to break this army. He's gonna have +3 melee. He's gonna have +2 missile attack. The storms are so good. Force fields hold the ramp. He has to break it with corrosive bile. A few roaches in the main. Take out another Archon. And here we go. The storm's washing over everything. The warp prism taken out. A whole bunch of drones dragged into the fray. Dark breaking up his own ramp. The Immortals holding the line. Storms again, melting through the entire Roach Ravager line. And whoa, whoa, whoa. Dark plummets to 60 supply. And Trap just wins the game. GW. Good win? Trap goes from... Okay. Alright. Well, the army supplies are what's important here. Trap is at 143. He's at 101 army supply. And there's the storms. We're gonna go to the trap cam. And he's like, oh god, it's a disaster back there. And the storms. Force field on the ramp, backs off. He's got so many hotkeys. He's got specifically for the Templar. The army supply is actually in favor of Trap through most of this. Trying to warp in back at home. Here comes Dark. The Ravagers. Microid the Immortals. Barely slides out of the way. The Oracle lit up. Oh my. And he turns it around. Dark didn't have the Death Ball. And that brings us to our bonus series of Shin versus Trap. If Dark can't do it, maybe one of the final qualifiers. I've heard Trap's PvZ is surprisingly strong lately, in a very different way than Classic or Max Packs. That's just a brute force. I mean, the Immortal Archon Templar is not necessarily a particularly new strategy, but despite the superficial losses, he ends up with a decisive victory in that battle. And you can make a whole lot of little mistakes as long as you don't make a big one when you have that sort of army. It is the Death Ball, and Dark didn't really respect it. And now, Shin. Let's see what type of Shin he has in store for us. Make sure to smack that like button and subscribe. Well, if you made it this far, you didn't turn it off after realizing that it wasn't all one series. So, it'd be awesome if you could do so. I always debate, should we just do 2 casts? But there's only so many days in the week and hours in the day. Well, that doesn't change how much time, but I'd rather just... If we happen to have the same player playing the same matchup against top players, why not take a look? I think that's usually what calls for a bonus series, as opposed to just throwing another game in there as an anti-spoiler. Context can be very important. This match was actually played the next round after he beat Dark, to my understanding. So, did Shin learn from it? Does he just have a different style entirely? The fact we're starting out on Amphion already, kind of an odd one to see in this particular matchup. As for Zerg, it's very hard to stop Protoss from getting to that 3 or 4 base situation. Between the close air distances protected by Stargate. Well, I guess if you like the Swarm Host style, though, which Shin has been known to attempt. I say attempt because it's like 50-50 on the results, but... He was blocking the base. Trap quite diligent about keeping the probe around to block the base, even after Zerglings are on the field, and only then canceling a pylon. Couple Zerglings get in. Probe like, hey, you can't go in there. Well, the Zerglings don't seem to care. They may get a probe. Oh my. Somehow protects that one probe. And, well, no, citizen's arrest. Here comes the Adept. And the Zergling speed is done. The Saga can know it's dead. It came back around. I don't know why. And Zerglings. Adept Shade almost completes at the very wrong time. The Zergling's trying to get in, but another Adept jams itself, and then the Stalker behind, and Shin. Oh, and a probe? He's like, maybe I can get something. No! Wow, what a block. But, oh yeah, so far, perfect. Well, I don't know what happened to that first Adept. Oracle. Tries to get a bit greedy, a couple extra drones, but instead does the customary get to the orange health while killing 2 drones move. An absolute classic tactic. Twilight on the... Oh, it's an Eclipse build. And it worked against Dark, is the thing. We've been seeing it repeatedly over the last few weeks. Players bringing the Glaive Adepts back to the front. To great effect. Like, I think Trap could have controlled it better, but overall, it still got the job done. It still did enough damage to hamstring Dark so Trap could build up that Deathball army. Dark being who he is, almost dragged it back because he's Dark and is able to somehow simultaneously attack 3 different locations while defending at home. But eventually Trap punished him by just not... Wow. Speaking of Trap punishing, though, that Oracle just keeps stabbing in and being slightly out of range of the Spore because Shin, now repositions the Spore, and he's making the same move. I mean, considering the context, I don't think Shin was watching that last series. I think he was playing his own series at the same time. But he's doing it again. He's showing that first set of shades to kind of lull you into a false sense of security. And then following it up with even more. But Shin only has 48 drones. 49 now. Which is a very conservative number, unless you suspect something like this is coming. The Oracles light up. He spots 5 Adepts, but yeah, this is what's gonna sell it. No supply block. He can build roaches to his resources' content. And he's gonna get the wall off. Make sure the shades can't get through. An incredibly important part of dealing with this. Once the shades get in, well, it's almost you're not getting them out. Another wall. It ain't perfect, but it'll do. Wow, he completes the shade in the 3rd. The queens are there. Oh, Brenda, the hubris. The hubris of these Protoss. Yes, you learned a new word, Susan. Very cool. The hubris of Brenda. Moving on. 7 drones dead for 14 Adepts. No, not good enough. Though, wow, that sentry is in its own force field, trapped in a prison of literally its own design. What? What is going on? I thought it wasn't going to run out. Somehow that... What if sentries could become the force field indefinitely? If you thought sentries have a low life expectancy before. Hydralus Den. Infestation Pit. Was that a bug? What? No, the bug's on the other side. I think we're talking about the force field thing. If you jam it just perfectly, sometimes things like that can... Was what a bug? Once again, they're all over the place. It happens. It's not... Yeah. Now power works. It wasn't really inside it. I bet it could have been attacked from a certain angle, but it looked very odd. Technically above. Yeah, there we go. Let's reserve it. Game breaking. I think we need to nerf the sentry again, guys. You know, the sentry being a force field may keep it from dying to Zerglings as much, so. It's a feature. I'm putting in the feature comment. No, I'll keep it as a bug, so that way it doesn't get nerfed. All right. -1 shield damage. Where were we? Lurker Den on the way. Hydra's in production for Shin. Double Ruptor. Oh, really? With the Mass Disruptor? It worked out for him before. The major weakness of Disruptors is against Vipers, which we saw very uncharacteristically dark. Didn't make a single one. The Adept Shade into the main will spot the Hive done, and the Lurker done on the way. 2 Vipers in production. Stasis to cover. And now, well, quite an even position. As Shin has 75 drones. It's got Hive tech. Those 3 Vipers are a big deal. Even with feedback, 3 Vipers are enough to dismantle much of that army composition. So it's going to come down to the fight the micro and whether the Vipers can pull the Disruptors before the Disruptors obliterate the ground army. No Vipers so far. 2 very badly hurt Oracles, but slaps a Revelation. Keeps good tabs on most of this. Decides to just hit Changelings, which is something, I guess. Meanwhile, Disruptors, looking for a shot. Clips the hatch at a couple Roaches. Vipers near full energy. Couple of Ducks apiece. But Trap calls in the beacon. And, oh no, no, no! The Disruptors! Oh, the Disruptors are pulled out of the army. There's only 1 Ravager. Has to recall. The Stasis will protect. So, it could have been worse, but the Disruptors getting just yanked out of the army composition. The Stasis force fields are the only thing keeping Shin at bay now. Is there enough for Storm? There is. Feedback on the Viper. Storm on the brunt of the Roach Hydra. Immortals on the high ground. And Trap holds the line for now. Pulls back. Angles for some of the units that got caught in stasis. A couple Zealots made it to the other side. The rest of the Zerglings try to make it out, but will get chopped up as well. And Trap is maxed out with 120 army supply. There's a mothership on the way. 13 Lurkers in quite a weird location, but 13 Lurkers off to the left flank. The Lurkers able to escape. They have both upgrades. Oh my god, he actually hold position there for a moment. But he goes for it. The Blinding Clouds, though, force the Immortals forward. Way too close. Dangerously close to the Lurker spines. He's going to have to hold the line. But this army doesn't have a recall. Oh, no. It's a disaster for Trap. He's got charge lots. They've taken out the top right base. More charge lots in the main. He's buying himself some time to pull back. But he got pinned up against the wall in between the Lurker spines and eviscerated for it. The War Prism, get over here! Down it goes. The Vipers showing their utility and their endless value. As the army composition, we've seen everything but Parasitic Bomb now, which really only means 2 things, but the Abducts have been on point. And now Trap, it's not a great army to deal with this. Doing a great job of blasting the Lurkers that get a little too close to the Immortals. Stasis triggers on just a single link. Fortuitous for Shin. There's only 4 Lurkers left. The Mothership active cloaking at the perfect time, and he doesn't have an Overseer. The mothership comes in to save the day. A dark shrine is on the way, out of respect for his previous conquest. A mothership at the last moment. And now Shin has to scramble again, building lurkers. Trap has 5 bases, but the Vipers. The Vipers. Oh no. And get over here! Time warp, using the mothership and a double yank for good measure. She's quite hefty. The time warp, not really what Trap was looking for. Ideally, you engage while it's part of it. A Nidus to the main. And will Trap realize? Does he have the warp-ins ready? Blasts a hatchery. Small win there. Still has 84. Warping in, but it's a little too late. The lurkers have already popped out. And a recall. I hope he has detection with it. Oh no, there's an observer. Okay, it's fine. Actually, Shin is feeding this army in. The Nidus died, and the lurkers fed piecemeal. Metaphorically, of course, because Protoss came. But moving on. Into the Immortals and the Zealots. Though this last lurker with no detection getting more damage than like the rest of the army entirely. Kills some Templar. Does a ton of damage to an Immortal. I think it killed a couple Gateway units in there as well. There's a Void Ray on the way. Just for zoning out any attempts at a Nidus. And now, the lurkers into the bottom right corner. Carriers in production, but he still has to deal with this army. Trap, or not, I guess. He could also not deal with that army. Storms, it's a base trade of sorts. Again, he's going to try to engage directly. He's going for the game-winning move. Stalkers, here come the Hydras and Lurkers. How long on recall? There's way too long. It's a minute. He's going to try to fight heads up. He catches 2 out of 3 Vipers immediately with feedback. Yanks out an Immortal in 2. Yeah, he gets a couple of them. The last feedback. No more Viper spells. Trap. Beautiful micro. There's a stasis. It's triggered on a few Zerglings. That'll actually help out a bit. Trap actually has... Well, there's a Nidus over here. A single Lurker. Oh, the base didn't die, but it's about to the surviving Lurker. Or the Nidus in Lurker. Either way. A big move out of Shin to salvage a pretty terrible situation, but the charge lots are swarming in, and there's not enough to stop them. Trap has just played hard to get, and he kept his army alive, and he kept his bases alive where it mattered. And Shin, while he put up more of a fight, is still going to fall to such a confident play. Wow. Beautifully done. As Trap takes down game 1. It always looks like he's, once again, a lot of small losses. He ends up losing his Immortals. He loses a lot of his Gateway army, Templar, but he loses them on the other side of the field. He loses them while he still has time to rebuild. Obviously, it'd be better if you didn't lose them at all, but if you're going to lose your army, you want to do it with as much space to recover as possible. And I think that made the difference yet again against Shin, who was not able to translate that better army into a winning position quickly enough. Deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Site Delta for game 2. Gonna do a little bit of mining micro, flirt with that mineral patch. Shin fighting him for it. Alright. PvPvE. The drone. Like, no, these are mine. Probe can only stick around so long before it actually grabs the minerals. Denying several minerals of mining. Wow. Shin not reacting? Gating Trap. Now, it doesn't actually look like that because you're spending a lot of time sending drones out and he just has less workers entirely. But a non-inconsequential amount of mining being slightly, not really denied, but annoyed, more accurately, by that probe. He's actually getting a lot done with it. Like, it's forcing the, not really forcing, but encouraging the drones to bounce off and look for a more feasible location in that split second. Flirting with the mineral patch and saying you're taken. And then the mineral patch passes on to the drone and says, hey, I'm taken. Go look somewhere else. And the drone's like, no, you're not. But sometimes the drone just fed up with it, just doesn't bother. And it happens, all right? We all get lazy sometimes. Lazy enough to not like and subscribe, though? After you've made it this far? Gotta respect that commitment. Or lack thereof. Stargate. Zerglings thought about slipping in, but couldn't quite find the opportunity. Oracle. And a stalker behind. Let's take down an overload. Probe gets in. Actually sees, maybe noticed that there wasn't full mining on the gas. Which is not a weird scenario. Oh my god. Jimmy. This is the dark game. Wow. All Zergs look alike to me. We're gonna edit that part out. You know, some of you noticed and may have thought you were crazy, and when I said deja vu, but here we are. Never say we don't do it live, but we are gonna have words about this. Wow. Tell me at least it's on the same map. No! It's on Ghost River. Somehow. That was, you can dislike now. That's... Don't spoil it in the comments, alright. I was like, wow, this is really some crazy deja vu. Wait a second. Where were we? This is the danger of casting the same matchup with at least one of the same players as well. But here we are. Welcome to Ghost River. We've chrono boosted forward slightly, and we're gonna pretend that nothing happened. And if we're going to refer to it as anything in the comments to lack spoilers, the incident. Okay. A senior moment, if you would. I told you we'd get that. Shut up. Trap up 1-0 on Shin. As we, revert the timeline. Adept finds a kill. I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a while. And Jimmy will be feeling it for a while. Chrono boosting a supply block to Oracle. So unfortunately going to lose that timing slightly. No trap. Still keeping the pressure on with the Adepts. Ghost River appears Shin a lot less averse to some of the less favorable Zerg maps, or at least maps that almost, well, many other Zergs will veto early on in the process. But I wouldn't be surprised if Shin's just like, yeah, just pick a map, bro. Power move. Hasn't worked out thus far, but is he gonna do it again? Well, it's worked out. Every game he's tried it. The Adept Glaives. They've paid off. So, even though both games, against Dark and against Shin, they didn't get game-winning damage, and in fact, they kind of looked mediocre. It just sets you up to build the rest of the army you need. And it feels like Zergs just aren't very used to dealing with it lately. Sure, this 4 Adept timing with a couple Oracles, yeah, that's something that's been figured out and dealt with. But the mass Adept Shade, on the other hand, has been a bit out of style, at least until very recently. The common wisdom says that roaches and a queen push are more than enough. Like, just walking the queens across to the 3rd with roach speed may be more than enough to deal with it. But you have to know it's coming. And it's very hard to tell whether it's going to be Glaive to Depths, or Blink, or Charge, without getting an Overlord in. And good luck getting an Overlord in without investing in Overlord speed, which, believe it or not, costs gas. So, if you spend that gas on Overlord speed, you've just now reduced your ability to use it to defend against what you just scouted. And that is a big reason why you don't see Overlord speed for scouting early, as you have a very tenuous amount of gas. Now, Brenda! Well, we can't fly, Susan. What do you expect? I expect you not to bring that up, is what. It's just a bunch of Adepts. There's nothing resembling a wall. He wouldn't do it again. He totally did it again. Adept Glaive's done. Some drones already dying. The Queen's coming out. And roaches as well to deal with it. And so far, so pretty good. Couple of Adepts at the 3rd as well. Not really being microed at the moment. Getting caught out by the roaches. 7 drones dead. But Shin still strung out between the bases. A dozen? I think he finally focused on the Adepts at the 3rd. Ended up killing a few more drones. Now Trap's up to 59 probes. And what else? He has 4 sentries. And now a few more stalkers. He's making an immortal. He's got a bunch of gates coming online. The Oracle's coming back in. Just poking down the drones. "16 drones dead. And here comes Brenda! Not again. It's played out today. Just shut up, Karen. Just keep walking. Betrayal of Creep. And, well, this is, if you look back at the distant past to 2 minutes ago when I was speculating, this is what should be used to deal with that Adept time. The best option to have some anti-air. And now with the creep spread, you can even get the transfuses. Blink is on the way, but it's not done. The force fields are holding for now, just going through the rocks, not bothering with it anymore. The Queens, there's really not that many gateway units here, no upgrades. It's gonna deal with it, just needs to pull back the Zerglings. Opens up some more space. There's really not that much static defense here either. The Queen's eating the brunt of it. No more force fields. Whips out the corrosive bile. Several shield batteries. No lings left to really tank the damage. The Immortal lives through so many volleys, and Trap now starting to stabilize. And Shin, almost nothing left. He didn't really have the economy behind it. And he just gives it up. Trap does critical damage with the Adepts and forces Shin into an entirely predictable, though still dangerous all-in. And, despite our production hiccups, Trap will take a clean sweep against both Dark and Shin. And, well, quite a decisive victory. Is Trap back in form? I still don't know what Dark was trying to accomplish there. We even wanted to go back and look at it again, but we shouldn't do that. I apologize for the watch time padding, but thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I made at least most of it a little bit better. Most of your day a little bit, wow, so thrown off. Let me restart that. Edit the whole thing out, Jimmy. Thank you for watching. You're breathtaking. Like and subscribe. Stay chill.